Warning: some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised. Henry Resilient, how are you doing?
I am well, man. How are you, Dr. Thunder?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. It's got rescheduled a couple times and everything. Thanks for hanging in there and agreeing to do this interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I reached out to you after I saw a comment that you made on the interview I did with CGA.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and that interview is for my channel. It performed pretty well, and I got a few subs from it.
That's good. Well, this CGA is a hard act to follow, so I don't know what you're expecting from this one, but I'll see what I can do with my.
Well, actually, I had a few buffers, a couple buffers. I had Preeti Upala, and I had let's see here, Daryl Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And those were both great conversations. But I've been really looking forward to this conversation. I've been checking out your work, and I see you frequently as I'm on, watching, CGA, who admittedly is a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm at the gym, and I'm listening to CGA, and I have to be careful because this dude will make me hurt myself for a well-timed joke, could end things for me. So, but I see you in the chat all the time, and he'll shout you out. He'll say something or whatever. It seems like you're involved in like I just got on in his locals, and I think I saw you in there too.
Yeah.
But a super generous dude, actually, very generous with information. And one thing that I talked to him about was his blue chip mindset stuff, and how much of a sort of how valuable that stuff is. What are your thoughts on CGA in generally, and then in particular the sort of blue chip mindset stuff?
I think CJ is a great resource for men in general of all ages and races. His family court knowledge and child support information is probably the best on YouTube. And not to mention when he talks about divorce, as me recently coming out of a divorce, you would think that he was literally, sitting on my couch watching everything unfold the way he talks about it. So from that standpoint, if you have, family problems or family court issues, child support issues, divorce, you should definitely tune in. He's also hilarious. And I would say a decent amount, if you watch any of my live streams, kind of mirror his. And, even some of the sound effects, but, he's an overall great guy, great content creator. I look up to him. I'm in his locals and his money mindset group, but the Blue Chip Mindset series that he does, I believe every Wednesday, is probably his most important work, but it's least watched because who cares about money? You want to talk about flatbacks and 304s. But if people lock into it, and just listen to what he's saying and maybe apply some of it to their life, they'll see a positive change with them just leveling up.
100%, 100%. And one thing about CGA that separates him from what I have dubbed bootstrap bros.
Bootstrap bros.
So the bootstrap pathology is when you attempt to ignore all the nuance and all the history that suggests that perhaps there may be some additional things pressing against Black people, in particular Black men. So you're supposed to ignore that, act like that doesn't happen, and then just pull hard up against your own bootstraps and you'll make it and all of this kind of stuff. The thing about CGA is he doesn't ignore that stuff. He actually references that stuff. However, he also doesn't give you an excuse.
Right.
He says, get it happening. And I appreciate that, because a lot of the stuff that sounds like you're not working hard enough, you're not working enough hours, that's why you a dusty broke ninja. A lot of the stuff that a lot of the stuff that sounds like that comes from folks that don't really care or haven't experienced or don't really know anything about the Black experience. And of course, that's not the case with CGA.
Right.
And, I'm in my second marriage, so I've been divorced.
Wow.
And I think part of what attracted me to CGA's content is CGA is actually he's actually pro traditional marriage. He actually thinks that that's good, but he also thinks that it's not a good idea to get married.
Not without
because of the legal system.
Yeah. All that.
Yeah. And he has something he calls the marriage wheel, which is pretty accurate.
I would say it's 100% spot on, and you could literally follow my marriage all the way through it. All the way.
Yeah. So, CGA is, of course, known for the whole free agent lifestyle, and basically encouraging men to, better themselves, better their situation. Don't jump back into bad situations.
Mm-hmm.
To value yourself as a person, all of that kind of stuff. And so, although doom and gloom CGA, sometimes he's, reporting the bad news. It seems to be you're laughing about it as he's reporting this bad news.
Right.
Now, you had already mentioned that you've gone through a divorce.
Yes.
And are wrestling with the court. I don't know what you want to share or how you want to set this up.
You want to hear about my divorce?
And what I want to hear is how you're doing that you're being divorced. How are you adjusting, and perhaps some challenges that you've had with the legal system?
Well,
associated with, different aspects of that.
Divorce is slow. So, I did make some mistakes during my divorce where we were separated for 16 months and I didn't file for divorce instantly, which I went against my lawyer's advice and was like, nah, she's not going to be like that. You know what I'm saying? And I was wrong. So once I did file for divorce 16 months after separation, it took an additional 12 months to finalize the divorce. So I was going through divorce for well over 2 years at that point. And it's something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And it's something that I would never do again. But as far as the challenges are going to come with the legal system. When she wanted to delay the case, there was no consequences. Meanwhile, I'm paying alimony and inflated child support. So the more she delays it, the more her pockets are getting aligned with, my hard-earned money. And if you're expecting it to be fair as a man, you're going to get a huge wake-up call. I know a lot of people say that, and you think it's just, for me, even when I used to hear it, I thought it was just like, oh, he's just, he bitter, he hurt, blah, blah, blah. And then when I go through it and then I see the unfairness and I experience it, I have a newfound respect for all the men who actually make it out and, make something of themselves after divorce, because it's not easy when, you're begging the judge for a trial date and she's trying to push the trial date back. And he's like, well, we're going to just let her push it back and see if you guys can settle. And then when you go to settle, she pushes it back even further. And you're like, judge, come on.
Yeah.
So,
So, so, in my situation, thanks for watching my video so far. There's all kinds of ways that you can support below. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Also, become a channel member where you'll get access to all of the archived videos. Now, back to the video. My divorce, my ex, she split. She told me on a Wednesday that she took a job 2 states away and she was gone on that following Sunday.
damn.
Right. So she was gone. Now, frankly, she did me a favor because it was a hot mess. The stuff was not good. And one thing is I look back at that and I recognize that I definitely was not perfect.
Right.
Okay. I made mistakes. I probably could have, but I'm human. Okay. However, I was never vindictive, spiteful, um, uh, and and I certainly was not, applying for jobs in other places with the plan of basically just abandoning. Just peace out. Good luck.
Right.
It wasn't that kind of thing. So she split, and it took 2 years. It took 2 years before the stuff was finalized. And at
Damn.
one point, I didn't have an address for her. I couldn't figure out where she was. So it was really challenging. Now, what ended up happening was 2 weeks after she moved, she started getting sick and she couldn't figure out why she was sick. So she's in the hospital
Mm-hmm.
and they tell her that she is pregnant.
Oh, Jesus.
But not by me.
Well, I guess
But
that's
not by
a
me.
good thing, huh?
So she moved there and she got knocked up within the first couple of weeks of being down there.
Damn.
And yeah, there you go. There's the story. But that being said, there wasn't like a lot of legal trouble. The biggest issue was, okay, once I finally got the stuff filed correctly, locating the right attorney. I had one attorney do it for me. They made some mistakes in it, so that I had to go and get that corrected by another attorney.
Oh.
And when she left, she took everything. She took all the good stuff. I mean, she took the car. I mean, I had a car, but
Yeah.
she took the good car, as it were. She took the bed, which is still, I think we still owe $4,000 for. She took the bed. She took, the TV, the leather couch. She took everything. She took it all. The only thing that she left was the dog.
Oh, you got the dog, huh?
At least I got the dog, which was fine. That was cool. I got the dog. But there was nothing to squabble about. There was no assets, and we didn't have any kids.
Oh, that makes it a lot easier.
And that's why it ended up working out better than I know a lot of my friends, their situation is. Now you have a daughter?
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old daughter with 50-50 custody, which it really turns out to be about 60% custody because I have right of first refusal on my parenting plan, which I advise every man to have. So your kid is not spending all their time with grandma or some babysitter.
Now, so one thing that sticks out is if you have 50-50, then why would you still be paying child support if it's 50-50, right?
And that is something I learned in my divorce. I went into it like a deer in the headlights when I'm thinking when she requested child support and alimony and me to pay her credit card bills. I was completely dumbfounded looking at my lawyer like she could make me do this. I'm like, I have our daughter the same amount of time. She was never a stay-at-home wife. She has a phenomenal salary. And this credit card debt that she was trying to hit me with was like $10,000, which I had no knowledge of. And they were just like, yeah, you can get hit with all this, but we're going to try to work it out. And based on my salary being higher than hers, that put me on the hook for child support. And based on my salary being higher than hers, and the length of our marriage, which was 6 years, which she stretched to 7, that put me on the hook for alimony.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
luckily,
mine.
oh,
Right. So mine was 5 years stretched to 7 by the time everything.
That's literally mine. And what happened during the divorce process, she threatened to stretch it to 9 during the trial date, to say the end of our divorce is the end of our marriage is the trial date, to bolster further her alimony claim, because she ended up getting 2 years of alimony. 1 year I just paid her the lump sum, and the other year was I was paying month to month as we were going through the divorce process. And that's what a lot of people probably don't know, that when you file for divorce and they file for a motion of temporary support, you're going to pay child support or an alimony if awarded to her through until you have your divorce. And then the alimony can get extended after the divorce is finalized. And that's what she was trying to do to me.
Yeah. Well, I know you heard that the state of Florida put a cap on this alimony stuff.
Yes, yes. The women gonna have to get a job. Stop trying to live off their ex-husbands. And it's
Yeah.
and I understand, their whole argument was we took less because we knew we was gonna be able to leech off our ex-husband for the rest of our life. And now that we can't leech, what are we gonna do? And I don't know, get a job like your husband been doing to pay your ass. I mean, sorry, I'm just when it comes to this divorce stuff, I'm still freshly divorced, so I'm still like, it still triggers me a little bit.
It's one of these sort of what when I philosophy is not the right word, procedure or policy or whatever, usual occurrence is that there's some sort of stipulation about a woman having the expectation to live a similar lifestyle. After you get divorced, you're supposed to live what you're accustomed to, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I always thought that was just total hogwash, right?
I agree
because there's certain things that a man would be accustomed to if he was married also. Does he get to extract that? Like you get to extract the resources?
I believe Chris Rock had a joke about that. I don't want to say, it's probably too vulgar for YouTube, but yeah, he don't get access to her body anymore. So why should she have access to his resources?
Right. And now in the modern world, things have become, I think people are confused. I think men mostly are confused because most men still are buying into this women are sugar spice and everything nice, and they're not going to do anything to you, and everything's going to be all right. And and trust is a sign of strength. It's
Not my girl.
strength and stuff like that.
She would never. She's strong and independent, man. That did not work out well for me. I'll tell you, $150,000 later from a strong, independent woman.
Praise the Lord. Goodness gracious. So, but this, in the modern world, men and women seem to be confused about a few things. When things were simple, like, okay, no running water, no electricity, none of that kind of stuff, somebody's got to go out and kill something so we can eat and survive. Somebody got to stay home with the children. I mean, it's, very kind of simple. Then, you kind of, everybody falls into their place. And because you didn't have like ad nauseum time and technology that kept you connected to this other person 24/7, including social media, every time they post something, now there's a obligatory, you got to like whatever they posted, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything is just so complicated now. It's so complicated, and women make money. And matter of fact, uh, in many cities of the major cities, women actually make more money for the same job that than men do. But we're still clamoring about this female empowerment. And if female empowerment was just empowerment, I'm a fan.
Me too.
Okay, I'm a fan.
Me too.
However, what female empowerment seems to actually be is female supremacy.
100%, man. 100%. And it's unfortunate that it changed like that, where, you know, I know the whole feminist movement is, you know, women are superior, and you thought they were fighting for equality. And then they turn around, they're fighting for superiority. And then when they experience equality, maybe in the form of paying their husband alimony, or like Holly Berry paying her ex-husband child support, then everyone's up in arms. And, you know, all of a sudden Holly Berry, you know, sympathized with all the men who pay child support. But the underlying current of this empowerment is superiority over men.
Also, the R&B singer, what's her name?
Kelly Clarkson.
No, not her.
Oh, Kiki Palmer? Or
No, not Kiki Palmer. I'm talking about she's 50 something now. You know what I'm talking about. Why can't I think of her name?
Sing a song.
Black female. What is her name? She just got fairly recently. She got divorced from her husband, and he's getting alimony. And she came up publicly and she was complaining that
Mary J. Blige.
Mary J. Blige.
Oh yeah, she felt the wrath of the family court system, because I believe he took a lot of her money from her. And then on top of that, she had to pay like $30,000 a month in alimony. And she had a very interesting story, because she had to end up getting a loan from some of her celebrity friends to pay her bills. And she talked about how she had to go back on tour for the sole purpose of paying him alimony. You know, it's just like another man having to get a second job to pay his wife alimony or the inflated child support. And
yeah,
she has a different.
Or leaving your car in the storage unit or something.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's the reality for some men after divorce.
And the thing is that I'm not a fan for that on either side. So my thing is, the reason that you would get married is to mutually benefit each other. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that if it doesn't work, and you know, disproportionately, it's the women that say I'm done. Mm-hmm. Right. But if it doesn't work, then neither party should expect that their life should be the same. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand why anybody. I'm trying to figure out how that even became the default. Like who did that?
Entitlement, man. Entitlement. All it takes is one woman to financially benefit from divorcing her husband, get the house, getting alimony, living rent free because he paying all the bills. And then guess what? It just spreads to the community. Oh, guess what, girl? I divorced him. I got the house. He paying me $2,000 a month in alimony. I don't got a care in the world. You should divorce your husband too. You could be like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's the laws. The laws are outdated, and they really should just do away with alimony altogether.
And let alone these situations where it's proven that you are not the father, but then based on the law of that particular state, since you're still on the birth certificate, you still owe child support. And if you decide that, hey, on principle, I've been paying for 16 years for something that ain't even the case, I ain't paying no more, then they can throw you in jail.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm happy you brought that up, because I was wondering, since your ex-wife was pregnant during your divorce, did she try to put you on child support? Or because I know in some states, if you get pregnant while married, even if the kid ain't the husband's, the husband is still financially responsible for the kid.
And see, the thing is, that is, I'm going to say that's the one thing that she did that I think was stand up, you know, that required some character, is that she didn't try to make me pay. And actually, at no point in time was she trying to make me pay. She was just done. She was just, hey, I'm going over here. I'm starting this life.
You got lucky.
And the principles, and here's the thing, the principles of monkey branching, right? Okay. Do you really think that she just happened to meet this dude within 2 weeks
No.
of moving there?
No.
Of course she knew this dude. Right. Of course she knew this dude. So this is like, man. Now this was quite a long time ago. This is before Facebook. This would have been, oh man. Yeah, this was a long time ago.
Oh wow.
Let's see here. This would have been like 04, 05.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's when you had to like work hard to cheat. Yeah.
Right. So but they still had computers, the match.com was still happening.
Okay.
So whatever. But the paternity fraud thing is of course that's terrible. I couldn't imagine going through that, my heart goes out to brothers that deal with that. Just imagine, you think that this is your biological child, this has been your kid since the beginning, and then you find out some kind of way that it's not actually the case. And then when you try to confront them, is the case with a lot of these sort of viral videos that we see now, where the guy is trying to confront the girl and she won't even take responsibility for it. She trying to, well, what made you want to check?
Oh yeah.
And stuff like that.
No
really?
accountability, no remorse.
What made you want to check? Dude, I just told you that the DNA does not match. This is on you.
Well, yeah, they don't want to lose him now because that's probably the good guy that she was messing with that she put the baby on. It happened to me before growing up. Someone tried to put a baby on me, and what ended up happening was I couldn't risk it. I was young, and I'm like, I don't think this baby's mine. And all she wanted was the money for the schmishmortion. And I was like, hey, I'm young. I think I was like 19 at the time. And I'm like, yeah, we haven't been using protection. I usually I'm pull out king, but she popped up pregnant. And I'm like, I couldn't take the risk. She wanted the schmishmortion and I just saw it through.
Yeah. It's, you live, you learn. And, young men, when I was young, I made some mistakes.
Yeah.
And, but you really can't make mistakes now. Like these, it's too much.
Too much at stake.
Yeah. There's too much at stake. It's just too risky. There's too much stuff. So one of the reasons I talk about these topics and why I like what CGA does is because men need to know what's going on. They need to understand that they're not impervious, that all it takes is one bad mistake, that's all it takes, and it can totally create a lifelong situation for you. With respect to the paternity stuff, so across the nation, there's a number of states that are proposing, or legislation is being drafted for mandatory DNA testing at birth.
Love it. I love it.
I like it too. And, it's a shame that this wasn't on the docket, as it were, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, however long ago since DNA technology was, was available, was possible, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good thing that folks seem to be opening their eyes. This could be a way. But the pushback against it, I've heard some of the most ridiculous arguments against it.
Tell me something.
Well, one of the arguments that I heard against it, and of course it's women pushing back against.
Of course.
There's no men.
There's
no men are
not
gonna
one
push
man is anti DNA testing.
right. So, but something about, but this is about trust, and it's about,
Miss me with that. Trust.
I mean, it's like making it's a step worse than making your fiance sign a prenuptial agreement.
Yeah, they don't want to get rid of a system that they largely benefit financially from. So, the whole we don't want mandatory DNA testing is because the guy that they're about to put on child support may not be the father, and they could potentially lose their meal ticket, if you will. So I can understand, I got this nice guy. We've been having sex. I'm gonna put the baby on him and not Ray Ray, who I suspect it is, because Ray Ray ain't gonna pay child support.
Yeah, and that's a regular strategy. I mean, and that's not a new strategy, by the way.
Oh no,
that's an age old strategy. Now, and this is what I tell folks based on the studies. Based on the research, on the data collected, if your spidey senses are tingling about the paternity of your kid, if you have questions about the paternity of what you believe to be your biological child, then 1 in 3, you are not the father.
Yeah. That's true. I know this. That's true. But some guys are scared. They're weak-willed. They don't want to, approach the potential mother of their baby and say, "Hey, I want a DNA test." Or what you see, they're doing it sneakily. They're doing it behind her back. After the damage is done, and then they're getting their feelings hurt when they find out the kid that they've been raising is not theirs. I couldn't imagine. It's devastating.
And I'm going to tell you, see, the thing is Black men, more than any other community, Black men have been historically willing to be cleanup bros.
Oh, yeah, you must be talking about the stepfather.
Stepdaddy cleanup men.
Well, there is a content creator, I'm not going to say his name, who's mentioning how that's the role that men should play, and how they shouldn't be as scared to be a stepfather. Yeah, I think you know who I'm talking about, but
moist.
Yes.
Moist
They say it takes a strong man to mend a heart he didn't break and raise a kid he didn't make. All that goofy stuff. But shout out to those guys.
Well, I'm going to tell you, it used to not be a bad deal. It was never ideal, right? It was never first choice.
Sure.
But it didn't used to be such a bad deal, right? My dad didn't know his natural father until he was in his 30s.
Okay.
And he was taken in and adopted by, his stepdad, and that's actually where I get my last name from. Is where he gets his last name from, right? Is from his stepdad. And so in that generation, it's women understood that they are lucky, blessed, fortunate that a man still wants to call them his wife.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so they would actually make it worth it. But these days, it's like, it's the expected thing. You're supposed to do this. You're not supposed to, it doesn't reduce the value of the woman just because she has a kid that's not yours, right? This is the thing. And the thing is that on a humanity perspective, it's true. Yes, she's just as much a human being. She still has the same rights. She still has the same desires and everything else. So I'm not taking humanity away, but to try to saddle some sort of 22, 23-year-old guy with a ready-made family, this is a mistake. This is a mistake. Men should fight to be able to, if they want to have kids, have them under their own, on their own terms, with women that haven't previously had kids.
I should agree with that statement.
Yeah. And again, that's not me hating on single moms. And
No.
and even the single mother sort of rhetoric or whatever, I think it is it hurts people's feelings,
Especially single moms.
Yeah, especially single moms, because it often is the case that they don't actually understand what's being said, right? So first of all, there's a few things that fit in the single mom category, and the thing in particular that's being pointed at is baby mamas.
Yeah.
Okay, if you did not prioritize marriage, if you did not value yourself enough to make this dude marry you before you had his kid, that's different than if you got married, had the kid, it didn't work out, or if you were a widow. Those are completely different scenarios. And so one size doesn't fit all. Most of the sort of negative single mother rhetoric, as it were, is actually aimed at those that did not prioritize marriage before they got pregnant.
Yeah, I would agree. But
yeah,
at the same time, just you saying single mom triggers single moms, because it comes with that negative connotation that is something wrong with them, or that's how they perceive it, as it being negative. Right. But the harsh reality is, and most men probably won't admit it, or some will actually do, is given all things equal, one woman has a kid, one woman don't, you're going to go with the woman with no kid.
And why is that? Like, even like, really? Like, why would you decide to look, all things being equal, why would you just say, you know what, I want to have a harder way to go, let me choose the single mom?
Yeah, I mean, some people like a challenge, or some people may get attached to the kid if they've been around the kid for a long time. But if you never met the kid, two identical women, you're gonna go with the woman without the kid, because guess what? They're gonna be available more. You don't have to worry about getting a babysitter. There's a number of benefits that come with dating a woman without kids, and most of them come in the form of flexibility and time.
Yeah, that's totally true. And of course, it's a different calculus if that's your kid.
Yes.
Right? It's a different calculus, because this time that we're talking about that I'm sacrificing, that's for my kid. Right? And then let's talk about the guys that they get all, they're all into this woman. She digs, he digs the kid, he's all attached to the kid and everything. And then she decides that she don't want to deal with him no more.
Yeah.
Now this dude has everything's been ripped away. Not only does he not have a girl, he don't get to deal with the kid anymore. He's got nothing.
Right. And to make matters worse, or I wouldn't say worse, but nowadays, like back in the day, sure, the guy was the priority even if they had a kid. But nowadays, what you'll hear the single mom say is, there's no one more important than my kid. So meaning you're already coming into the picture as number two. Okay, because especially if it's a son, now you got the son husband epidemic that's going on, where you're dating someone who's married to their son, and they don't want to kick Pookie out when they turn 18, and you have those type issues.
Yeah. And another thing that I mention in this context frequently is it's also different if, say, you're both in your 40s.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. Because if you're both in your 40s, and now this is not 100%, but unless there's something wrong with the woman, she's probably going to have a kid.
uh,
Okay?
yeah, it's a high probability, especially
High
from
probability.
the community.
And, and any of the sort of feminine qualities and good relationship qualities that she had, she's going to have to, she's going to have been with somebody before, because, I mean, it's too good to leave alone. Right. So, but that's also what probably uh, is going to attract you to her. Right. And so if she hadn't had a kid, you have to be like, kind of be like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't somebody choose you yet? Right. So the single mother thing is not really about middle-aged people
Mhm.
and their, second time around and stuff like that. It's not about that. If that's what you want to do, you got a kid, she got a kid, hey, fine. But if the guy is single and he's young, trying to guilt men into take this on and treat it like it's some kind of good deal is, I think, reprehensible.
Oh, you're setting you're setting a young man up for failure. That's all. It's too risky. You get attached to the kid, um, relationship goes sour. Now you have no more access to the kid. And sometimes what'll happen is these older single women will find a younger guy and latch on to him and doing, the double monkey backflips on him. And he, it's the best thing he ever had. And he just been ingratiated with a family because she drains him as much as he likes. And he doesn't know that, there's other options out there and women who would do the same thing and they don't need a babysitter on Saturday night when you want to go out.
So, upbringing.
Yeah.
So, how'd you grow up? And, maybe some significant moments in your upbringing. Um, and what is it that you do now? What were you doing previously? What led you to what you're doing in your career, and maybe some goals, kind of a
Okay.
trajectory, as you will,
Well,
if you will.
I'm a statistic. My mother was a crackhead. She recently got off drugs not too long ago when the Grim Reaper was knocking at her door. She had like 3 strokes and they had to do the defibrillator, bring her back. And we did that about 3 times. But growing up with a crackhead mother was interesting because, it was more so just me and my sister. And I wasn't a son husband per se, but I was definitely the man of the house, if you will. I've been working since I was 15 and a half, which was the legal age where I could start working because the child support, she would spend beaming up to Scotty, as me and my sister used to say. And then the money I would make would, go towards things for the house, food for me and my sister. It was interesting. We had a village, but my mother maintained custody for a while until she went to jail. And then once she went to jail for, check fraud or whatever, um, other family members got custody, but it wasn't as bad as you think. Sure, growing up with a substance abuse mother, we moved a lot. So, that was always a thing with like making friends. I could always make friends easily, but I would never get too attached. And that kind of, because I knew we was going to move. Father was in the wind, even though I knew like everyone in his family except for him, which is kind of odd, but that is what it is. But as far as growing up, we had fun. When my mom worked at Wendy's, she would steal the chicken patties and the buns, and we would deep fry them in a pot. And I'm telling, look, Wendy's, this ain't no promo, but they do got like such a great chicken sandwich. And just seeing her substance abuse and what it did to her life, I just excelled academically. So
Mm.
I went to a HBCU, graduated, and now I'm like a vice president of a small company, a small organization. And I've been in this industry over a decade, and it wasn't easy. Started off entry level, and with corporate America, it's a little different now. You know, everyone wants you to have experience. If you want to get promoted, we need you to have some experience. Well, I can't even get a job because the job requires experience, and no one's going to give me experience. So the way I rose through the ranks was I would leave jobs after I got experience. I saw a position open. I would leave my entry level, go to a middle management, leave that position and go to an upper management. And then I'm fortunate to be in the position I am. And although I love my current career, I love live streaming even more. It's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's so freeing. And when I was married, I had a channel. And when I had my daughter, or our daughter, the channel kind of, went away as, you know, spending time with the family and doing things like that. And once I started going through the divorce and started getting with the alimony and the child support, I'm like, shit, I gotta figure out how to pay some of these newfound expenses, because I was paying like $1,000 a month combined plus lawyer fees, which was killing me. So I just went back to YouTube, started a new channel because she originally stated she wanted my old YouTube channel.
Oh, come on. That's just petty.
I know.
She probably hated when you spent time on it.
Oh,
She probably
absolutely.
was never supportive, never wanted you to deal with it, and now she wants it.
I was, as she said, you're obsessed with YouTube, and it is hurting our marriage. And then that was kind of like the end of YouTube. And then I get divorced. And now when I don't have my daughter, as you see, I'm putting in lots of time on YouTube and content creation. And since one of my entry level jobs was an investigator, I kind of like took that skill set I learned and applied it to my YouTube channel. And I guess the rest is history, or the rest has yet to be written. But that is, I mean,
your channel's growing, man. What are you about 11K subs now?
About 12.5K subs.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. Well, that tells you that so this is like a couple of weeks ago when I saw it then. So you've grown since then.
Yeah.
So it's happening. That's great. And you found sort of a niche. We're kind of talking a little bit about this before we started rolling.
Yeah.
But you kind of found a niche. How would you describe the niche that you're
is in? Twitch drama, Twitch legal cases. So I think the biggest case I'm covering right now is the $100 million man, XQC, whose ex-girlfriend has filed to divorce him. And it has been a shit show since the beginning. I mean, he just signed a $100 million contract with Kick. He's making more than LeBron James playing video games and watching YouTube. And when they broke up, it looks like she wanted a piece of it. And because they're going through this divorce in this small city in Texas, I did the due diligence to get the court documents. And it turns out not only is she trying to divorce him, she wanted like a $500,000 bond. She wants him to stop gambling, stop buying jewelry. She wants him not to talk about it. She wants the cars, the house. And we're talking about a fake marriage of 2 years, because he's adamant that he was never married. He says it all the time. And he's like, this is all about money, guys. But he's been in the sticks since November, and they still haven't gone through the court process to prove that he's never been married. But, outside of that, I did start my channel talking about divorce. And I saw another man going through divorce, and I'm like, guys, look at this. And people finally starting to see like how damaging divorce could be. And so divorce and legal issues, court documents is mostly on my channel. And, I try to make it entertaining. We crack jokes, we laugh, we sniggle, all that good stuff.
Well, this thing that you said about divorce being damaging. Um, Everybody's concerned about what happens to women,
Oh, yes. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
But there's not that much concern about what happens to men.
None whatsoever.
Now, I went to the inaugural, the initial, the first CME Conference of Masculine Excellence. Donovan Sharp, shout out to Donovan. And it was in Las Vegas, and one of the speakers was, oh my goodness, don't let me forget his name. It'll come to me. Let me talk about it a little bit. It'll come to me.
Okay.
But he was talking about suicide.
Yeah.
Male suicide. And he was talking about how there is a direct connection between divorce and male suicide.
Yeah, it's men are 9 times more likely to self transition after experiencing a divorce.
That's right. That's right. Because if you can imagine you putting all of your resources into this, and let's just be totally honest. Men can live on the cheap if they don't have a family.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
Okay, you can live on the cheap. And often I have thought about, if I wasn't married, and I love my wife, I've been married for 15 years. I have a 10-year-old son, and I wouldn't change a thing. It's not perfect, never is perfect. It's hard, it's challenging. All of that stuff is true, but I also wouldn't change it. And but I think about how much cheaper stuff would be. See, I wouldn't have a mortgage. Uh, I've until recently, I've always had 2 offices. Got the office at my one employment, and I've got, the church gig. I would always have an office there. I've always had a gym membership, right? So I'll tell you how this would go. I wouldn't need a residence. I'd get a PO box. I wouldn't need a residence. I have a futon in my office. I can sleep in my office. I have a gym membership so I can take my shower, and I could get a storage unit for my closet. Now,
that is pretty cheap.
Now, and also consider that a lot of the additional stuff that we get. Now, I'm a technology geek, and I could spend a lot of money on instruments and stuff. I'm a musician, so I could end up spending a lot of money on that. But sans the music and the technology stuff, that's the most expensive stuff that I do. I don't need to have a late model car because I ain't trying to impress nobody.
Right.
And so no payments on that. I'd be banking. Like, man, I would be stacking cash like crazy. Now, I have come to myself, and I realize that what I'm getting instead of that stacking cash for me is worth more than that.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. I think that was a good deal. But if you can imagine having come to that deal, and then she wants to take it away. She wants to take everything away. Now all this stuff that you've been paying for, the house, access to your kids, alienating you from your kids, taking all this stuff back away from you that you wouldn't have spent, you wouldn't have sewn into that stuff, you wouldn't have paid into that stuff anyway if it was just you. And it's too much. It becomes too much for guys to bear. Now, I don't think that that's the right option. And I think that men sharing these stories with each other And so that they recognize that they're not the only ones dealing with these situations.
Absolutely.
You know, I think that that's very healing and helpful. It seems like women do that a lot better than men do, right? They tend to talk about their issues, and maybe it's, you know, too emotional and too many tears and stuff for for my taste, but they do it better than we do. And so, seems to me that these spaces where these kind of topics are being discussed with a sort of forthrightness and transparency, I think is helpful and beneficial to men in general. Um, uh, I still haven't remembered his name, but it's still on the tip of my tongue. I'll remember it before we're done.
Okay.
But anyhow, the suicide thing for men is an issue. This is a big issue. The fact that there are way more men that are homeless than women, right? It's like 90% or something like this is men that are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I was, my son just turned 10,
Okay.
and this is maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, where he was still 9. Actually, he just had a birthday, and we were on the highway. We got off the highway, and there is a usual place where some homeless person will be.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
they got
the
the
hangout
cardboard
spot.
sign.
Yep. As soon as you
Yep,
get at the off ramp, right there.
that's right. You got the cardboard, and anything will help. Or I got 2 kids, can you help me, like this. And I saw a version of this that I had never seen before. Cardboard sign, I got 2 kids, like this. And this guy is a white guy. This guy was dancing. He's like this as he's walking up like this. But it was like a dead smile, like his eyes were dead
uh
as he's doing this. So it was totally, mechanical, um and I've been using that as a sort of warning to my son. I said, look, all it takes, all it would take for me to be out there just like this dude, 2 well placed mistakes in a row, and that could be me. And instead of it saying 2 kids, it'd say 1 kid, and that's you. So
Yeah, I mean, even the Joker, as a cartoon, he says everyone is one bad day away from going crazy, from losing their
one,
losing their mind,
yep,
and he proved it one time. But yeah, that's a very true statement.
yeah. It doesn't take that much for men to get totally derailed. But then on the other side of that, it doesn't take that much to push men back from the edge. To reach a hand out to your brother in their time of need. So I don't, I'm not sure that I have to ask this question, but do you have a moment when you became aware of the matrix? And that,
Yeah, it was actually the last time I shed a tear, if you will. I know I'm not the strongest guy, but I remember when my ex-wife said she wanted, as much as my pension as legally possible. And I'm talking to my lawyer, and I'm like, well, look, we had similar incomes. She had the ability to save. This is completely not fair. And my lawyer just was like, just consider it gone, man. And I was at work in my office, not balling, but like the John
Last of
Q
the
here.
Mohicans.
Yeah, the John
Last of the
Q here.
Mohicans.
Yep,
The single.
just boom. And I was like, that was my pension going. And then
Oh my goodness.
once I accepted that it was gone, it was like, all right, well, I'm about to be down this large amount of money. It's time to start rebuilding. It wasn't a a moment of, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? It was like, no, well, here's the plan. I've seen, others face other financial difficulties before in the past. I'll make it all back. Here's how I'll do it. And you just start executing day by day, fulfilling my plans of growing my YouTube channel to recoup my losses.
So yeah, I think about my own history. I was in my mid 30s
Mm-hmm.
by the time that I ever broke up with a woman, before I ever was the person to say, this is it. I can't do it anymore. Every other relationship I ever had, women left.
Damn.
It was always their choice. And it's not because they were perfect and I was a heathen.
What were you, a narcissist, an emotional abuser? What label did they give you when they left? Controlling.
Well, it's interesting. I never got like the name calling things. It was always just some, I got dirty mac'd a couple times.
Oh man,
Like
ninjas.
other, that happened to me a couple times, and stuff like that. But it was never because they said that they thought I was a bad person. Matter of fact, they would say that they thought I was a good person, but it just, it's just not going to work, or we're going apart, or whatever reasons they give.
Uh-huh.
And but that moment in my mid 30s where I finally was like, you know what, this it's not worth it. I'm going to value myself. I'm going to require certain I'm just going to require certain things. I
Mm-hmm.
have to have a list of standards, and I need to hold the women that I deal with. I need to hold them to these standards, because what I would do as a young man is I would just let them roll over me, and I would just keep adapting and adapting and adapting. And part of the reason I think I did that was because now my parents have been married for 54 years, and I saw what they were doing. I saw the sort of standard for relationships, for marriage. I saw it right from my parents. And so what I was doing is I was misapplying this sort of loyalty and commitment and trust and respect to people that did not deserve it.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I literally felt that way coming out of my marriage, because I was still being nice for the most part. I was still being cordial. And once I realized what time they were on, I definitely felt like I was cheated. I was wasting so much of my niceness and, just trying to be cordial coming out of the divorce, where to them it was war. To them, I
Mm.
was the enemy. And I'm like, all I did was say, after she moved out, I said, oh, I agreed that, hey, this marriage is done. I literally agreed with her. And then it was just war, unprovoked. And it's just something I'll never forget. And I,
She wanted you to fight for her.
and you know what? The funny thing is, other people said that too. Because when she first moved out, she moved around the corner, and I would have my daughter every other day. I would go to her place to do bath time. She would come to mine to do bath time. And I think a month after that, I told her I wanted a divorce, and she was like, "Cool, that's what it is." And we still hung out. We still had family picture day with our daughter. Um, and then I believe it was one night, I went out dating, and she hit me up. thinking that because my daughter was spending the night at my sister's, that me and her would go out on a date. And I was like, no, no, that's not happening. And from there on, it's just been downhill, man. It's just fight after fight. And now that our daughter going to school and she has some strong feelings against her father, who's on my side, it's another fight. She don't want him around our daughter, all because of how she feels. And that's literally the last communication is all about his involvement in his granddaughter's life.
Now, something that occurred to me in this is something that CGA says this frequently. Others say this too, and that is, if she breaks up with you, then it's over. But if you break up with her, it ain't over.
Well, yeah.
It ain't over until they say it's over. It ain't over until they're the ones that said the words first, that initiated the separation, all of that.
Well, I got 15 years of it not being over as she uses, the parenting plan and child support to exert some type of control over me. And it's just unfortunate that it comes this way because, the person that I married is not the person you divorce. And, a lot of you, maybe you heard CGA say that. It's literally a person as being as worse as humanly possible because they know that they can with no consequence.
Yeah.
There's no recourse.
Now, we were talking earlier about stepdaddy cleanup men. I call them cleanup bros.
Yeah.
And I did a matter of fact, CGA talked about this on one of his streams. He told me that I should do a show on either you're a cleanup bro or a passport bro. Because that was something that I said that, caught his ear. And for the record, cleanup bro nor passport bro are terms that I coined. But putting those things together that way is something that I hadn't heard anyone else put that way. And that there's this growing passport bro movement.
Yes.
And people have different opinions about it. Some folks think that it's, a sign of weakness. They think that, stuff like, well, if you can't get women here, then you can't get them there. There's a sort of characterization of passport bros as being dusty.
Dusty.
Broke dusties and all this. And of course, the problem with that is that international travel is very expensive. It's not just the cost of the passport. And although I would argue that if you are socially awkward, and now really socially awkward, not the put down, the basically because you don't have ice water flowing through your veins, when you go to talk to somebody, a woman that's very attractive to you, look, most dudes are going to stumble.
Oh,
they're going to say, they're going to be nervous because they're human, right? Because they actually care, right? And most folks don't have stored up, 100 cold approaches per month. And, they haven't been spinning plates. They don't have masculine frame. They don't have mouthpiece.
Oh, my goodness.
They don't have all of that stuff, right? Because they haven't been wasting their time prioritizing the P sleeve over their purpose.
Right.
Right. They haven't been chasing women rather than on their purpose. And, somebody like myself, I mean, I'm 48. Okay. And I've been on my purpose for 42 years. I started as a musician when I was 6. I started performing professionally when I was 9. My dad was my teacher. My dad was a great saxophone player, and so he gave me lessons. He taught me, and he managed my career. My dad had his own record company, so this is an unfair advantage. I know it's not the usual thing, and I can't take credit for how possessed by music I was, and how much I wanted to do it, and how they had to hide the saxophone, so that I go outside. I can't take credit for any of that. I don't. I'm weird, and I realize how weird I am now that I have a 10-year-old son. I don't know what it was. It's just that's just what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that is that possessed, that focused on their purpose, is necessarily has to give something else up.
Sure.
You can't get everything. Okay. And so it stands to reason that someone that has been on their purpose, the so-called educated lame, is not, maybe doesn't have all of the latest pickup lines and the swag and the drip to match to the taste of, the modern woman.
Right.
Okay. Because they actually been working, for a living.
Sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of these sort of criticisms that I think that they're applying to some of these passport bros, that these women over here didn't want them anyway. So I don't know why you're complaining, right?
I can see that argument. I am
But
not. Go ahead.
But let me just say this: there has emerged this sort of controversy between the dating coaches and the passport bros, and which is an interesting sort of thing. And CGA is he's pretty assertive and aggressive against the dating coaches.
I mean, dating has changed significantly. So there is no, for the most part, there is no pickup line that you could use per se to get a woman to, I guess, do what you want or gain access to her body.
Right.
So you're going to need some type of finance for the romance, if you will, just to quote CGA. But that holds true. And what I see with the passport bros is they want romance on a discount. And what they're doing is taking their money to, it was like Colombia and the Philippines and Thailand, all these places where sexual tourism is pretty popular. And sure, you probably have a small percentage of them looking for a wife, if you will, per se. But I think the vast majority of them is just looking for an easy lay and to, join, be a part of something. Oh, hey, I got my passport. I went to Mexico and I messed with, this Spanish girl who basically a black girl who speaks Spanish. And, I'm getting my rocks off. Get your passport. Where it's not for me per se, but I can understand the guys who it may be for, like you said, the socially awkward guys will go out there because the women will see you as an opportunity. Whereas here, you could be invisible. Like myself, I'm probably invisible. I go to a mall, I'm invisible. But when you see these videos on like YouTube where just walking the streets, you see these women, hey, you got WhatsApp? Yeah, I got WhatsApp. Here's, the numbers get exchanged.
Right.
So, I mean, shout out to the passport bros, but I would never be one. But I do think men should travel. I've been around the world, but not for the sole purpose of sexual tourism or to find a wife, if you will.
Right. Now, definitely, all of the above is happening. Some guys are going there because they want to work remotely and they like to be on the beach or whatever, and they can get property and stuff like that for a lot cheaper. I was watching one content creator and they were talking about a certain amount of money that you need to save up, and then you can just retire, move to Thailand or something and
Yeah,
retire.
absolutely.
You know,
My former boss, he retired and moved to Ghana. He's like,
yeah.
oh, here's my house. It looks like a $2 million mansion in LA, but it's in Ghana. And he had a regular job and he was probably making like 80K a year, but in Ghana, he's living like LeBron James in Ghana. You know, like his house is the same size and he's just living comfortably. So
Yeah.
I can understand that aspect, but by and large, the passport bro movement, what it's known for is the sexual tourism. From my limited point of view, I'm sure there's some guys out there like, no, Henry, we out here just working remotely, taking advantage of tax breaks and getting cheap property. But
Right.
the videos that get the views are the ones that say, hey, look at this Latina I got. You know, I gave her $30 and, you know, look at her leaving my room, you know, stuff like that. But to each his own.
Yeah.
I don't police.
And the thing is all of the above is definitely happening. And as long as people are doing things that are not taking advantage of somebody, not breaking the law, not hurting anybody, all of that kind of stuff, to each his own, that's fine. Me morally, I'm a Christian. I have a certain value system that would preclude me from supporting that aspect of it.
Okay.
But as far as men having an option of to access women that by and large are going to be more traditional, more options, it seems like a valid option.
Sure.
There's a content creator, used to be known as Big Truck. And Big Truck, he uses the expression, he's actually the one that came up with the expression cleanup bros.
Oh, really?
Now, what he says is that he doesn't even call folks so-called passport bros that go over, that are doing it for sex tourism. He doesn't even call them passport bros. He just calls them tricks. He says passport bros. The passport bros are the ones that are actually in search of long-term relationships with women that are more traditional. Now, that's debatable as to what percentage of guys that are actually doing that for that purpose. I think you can probably make some sort of rather accurate assessment based on what part of the world they're traveling to. There's certain places, East Africa, for instance, that cost a lot more to travel to, and there's a lot less sort of sex tourism and stuff that's going on in those parts of the world. And so if people are going to those parts of the world, then you can be like, okay, well, that's probably not the reason. But then if they're going to like Medellin or something like that,
Yeah.
just being honest.
Yeah.
So,
oh man, passport bros.
but anyhow, the passport bro thing is it's an interesting development because it's something that men have done since the dawn of civilization, and that is traveled for a variety of reasons. Now, I have a passport, but I wouldn't classify myself as a passport bro. I travel because I do international tours, and I have done some international tours. So, as a musician, so that's my purpose for having a passport. But hey, however that goes, no judgments.
Sure.
Now, I made a comment. I don't remember. It could have been on CGA's channel or something. And you were responding back. We were kind of going back and forth in this chat, and I was saying something about the state of the black community, or something about the black church, or something about some issue with the let it burn or something. I can't remember what it was.
I did. I'm pretty sure I said let the community burn, get out, save yourself, something along those lines.
Right. Now, like I said, I'm 48. I'm a Generation X. A lot of Generation X men are quite conflicted about this.
Yeah.
So my head says, get out. There's nothing that's going to fix this problem. It's too far gone. And you, educated, lame, dusty Negro, they don't want you anyway. So why you even, why is this even your fight? Right. So, right. Cause I ain't a swag dude. I ain't a thuggo. I'm not a pookie. So, what it is that I am is not particularly valuable. It doesn't have the sort of hood currency.
No street cred for you.
That's right. No street cred. I don't have any bullet wounds. So I'm sorry. um, yeah, I don't have any bullet wounds. So, and I don't have any baby mamas. So, so I don't have that currency.
Don't fit the criteria.
That's right. I don't fit. I'm not their cup of tea. Put it that way. So it doesn't matter. They're not going to choose me. They're not going to celebrate me. They're not going to support other men like me, so that they can thrive and be successful and all like this. They're going to prioritize foolishness. They're going to overlook other people like myself. And so that's what my head says. And there's plenty of evidence to show this. It's all around you. There are plenty of studies that show this. We know what the deal is.
All right.
Okay. So that's what my head says. But my heart,
your heart, feelings.
That's right. That's right. My heart says, but what about the kids? Ooh. And that's an honest question. And when I say, what about the kids? And I know some say F them kids.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily my approach. But the question about the kids is really about the innocent bystanders.
Yeah.
The folks that didn't choose this. They didn't choose this as their parents chose this. Other folks in the community chose this. It's not their fault that this stuff is going on. What about them? Is there something that can be done to help them?
And go ahead. I would say no. I would say no. As a father myself, right? And this may rub a lot of people the wrong way who has her mother's Black, I'm Black, she's a full, Black child. When I raise her, the best thing I could do is to make sure she is as far away from the community as possible. Now, I'm not saying that she does not identify as being from the community, but as far as saving the community, you are risking life and limb trying to save a group of people who, by and large, do not want to be saved. Think about the people who profit from the community being the way the community is set up. They want to keep the community the same because they have a vested interest in its destruction, its downfall, its continued state. As well as the government. The government, like, no. We need the community to stay where the community at. It's producing felons for us. It's keeping our jails full. We need to keep the community intact because it's a resource for us. You could probably save a group of people who want to escape the community, but the community as a whole, there's no one that could do it. There's not one person that's going to unite the community. I mean, I hate to go like historically, and even when we had two leaders who had a vast control of the community, even maybe they had different viewpoints. With speaking of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, when they wield that power, they were deleted.
Yep.
And the community has been in shambles ever since. And then we got our own, everyone has their own MLK or Malcolm X that they look up to. And we're so segregated, even though we're so the same. So my advice for the people who are raising kids is get them out the community. Don't try to save it. You're not going to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. Yep. And I know that to be true. I know exactly what you're saying to be true. And it's kind of like it's a sour point. It's you have to I mean, this is the reality, and it's not a reality that we chose.
Yeah.
I've tried to do everything I can do to prevent my own family from suffering that, and I suppose that's the only thing that you can do.
I'll tell you a story about my former dentist who was all about the community man, community fundraisers, community events, community teeth cleanings. What happened? One night, the guy who would clean your teeth for free if you had no insurance, place gets kicked in, robbed of dental supplies by the community that he was trying to save. And I'm sure he's not the first one. He won't be the last one. Where is he at now? Nowhere near the community. He's in the all-white community. And sure, the people he can, that used to see him and when he was a part of the community can come on down there. But, at the end of the day, he has to protect his business, his vested interest. He has a family to provide for. And like I said, that story is one of many.
Yeah. That stuff is you almost have to laugh so you don't cry, man.
Oh yeah. The same people whose teeth he would clean when given the opportunity would kick his goddamn door in and take his stainless steel supplies that he used to clean their goddamn teeth.
That stuff is like so ridiculous.
It's horrible.
It's like, come on, man.
Like, yo, he was rooting for you. Hey, what happened when he gave everyone turkeys and hey, here's a voucher for a free teeth clean. Hey, you don't got insurance? Okay, here's a voucher for you and your kid to get their teeth cleaned. Just come on down. We do free teeth cleanings on Thursdays from 9 to 12. Come on down. We'll get you together.
Rob, this ninja must have money since he could do all this free stuff. We gotta get in here and get some of that money.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, he got money now. Now that he's in the white neighborhood, he ain't doing no more free stuff like that.
Right. Oh, man, you can't win for losing, man.
He tried for losing. He tried. So he can say, hey guys, I tried to save the community. The community did not want to be saved. They wanted my tools more. So now I'm out in this predominantly white neighborhood where I don't have to worry about people breaking in and robbing the goddamn place when I'm asleep.
That's messed up, man. So I just wanted to so this one last thing. And this is an expression that I've used frequently. An analogy, a story, a parable, if you will.
Okay.
So it's like you find yourself out in the middle of a lake. You're on a boat.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-person boat. And there's another person in the boat.
Yeah.
And now you can swim well enough to save your life, but the other person can't swim at all. And for some reason, there's no life preservers. There's not a vest. There's nothing on there. And there's a huge hole you discover in the bottom of the boat, and that boat is going down. And there's nothing that you can do about it, right? You don't have a bucket so you can like beat the water coming into the bottom. You can't. It ain't a cartoon. Okay. This is real. So, all right. So you both end up in the water, and the other person is flailing wildly because they can't swim.
Right.
And you tell them, knock that off right now, or else I'm going to let you drown. And if they calm down, you get close, you take them in, fine. But if they keep that flailing going on, it's not really a choice that you're making about saving someone else or not. It's really a choice about saving yourself, because you would literally be sacrificing yourself if you tried to save this person that will not comply.
Right. Then two people drown.
And you don't have time. You don't have time. Look, you don't have time to explain to them why, if they're flailing wildly, that you're not going to be able to save them and they're going to kill you both and blah, 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 and go into detail and give them some stats, statistics, studies, give them the emotional reason for why, this is what you're going to get out of this. You don't have a chance to give them incentives and all that kind of stuff. Comply or die. And unfortunately, it's not just in our community and in this sort of burning building that our communities become. It's not just that the house is on fire. It's that the people that are in the house want to give you lip when you're trying to get them out the house.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so this is not really a let it burn scenario. It's really an acknowledging that it is burning and that you can either save yourself or somebody that is willing to comply immediately, or that's it.
Right.
Or die. That's it. And it's a harsh reality, but this is what it is. And I still struggle with it. I struggle with it all the time.
Man.
I still struggle with it. You drive through the hood and you think, man, maybe I could do something.
I know we're
maybe if I get out of my car right here, maybe I could go over here and I could try to help some folks.
I'll do you one better. I'll tell you a story. This is the same woman who put the baby on me. I graduate from college. I say, hey, here's my plan. She's living in the projects. All right. I say, hey, you can come live with me. I have a great job. I'll have a house by this year. Here's my 10-year plan. Come with me. We've been off and on for 7 years. I love you. You love me. Yada, yada. It's my project princess. She says, no, I can't come with you. I just got approved for Section 8 housing. I've been trying to get Section 8 housing for 5 years. Do you know how rare it is for a woman with no kids to get Section 8 housing? I'm going to stay in the projects with Section 8 housing. Left her ass. I'm like, I was mortified. I am offering you something new, but her mom lived in Section 8 in the projects all her life. I lived in the project. That's kind of why I gravitated towards her, because we both knew the struggle. And here I am, come back, educated, lame ass, ninja like myself.
Right.
Fresh out of college, come back to my project princess. Like, hey, look, I got a great job. You don't have to live in the projects no more. You can live with me. We can work. I'll have a house in a year or two. Come with me. She said, no, I want to live in the projects off Section 8. So that was me trying to say the community. Shout out to her, sweet girl, though. Sweet girl. Sweet girl. I remember she drove past my house and she was getting a ride from someone. I hear a horn honk. She come out. She's like, wow, is this your house? I'm like, yeah, this is the house. And your wife's inside? I'm like, yeah, she is. You really did everything you said you was going to do. I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm happy for you. I was like, oh, cool. Thank you. I couldn't believe it. But, You want to say the community? Look, she was on the boat. She was on the boat with me. I said, hey, I'm gonna teach you how to swim the shore. Come with me. She said, no. Government gonna rescue me in a little bit.
Oh,
I'm gonna tread water into, you know.
she said, hold on, Pookie coming.
Exactly.
Pookie coming.
I was just like, hey, that's what she wanted. That's what she got. Nothing I can do about that, man.
Praise the Lord. Goodness have mercy.
But save the community. Everyone who's, you know, who's watching, and, you know, do your due diligence. At least you can say you tried and have a moment.
Man, you can, dude, goodness. What is it? What is it? Truth is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, man. You can't make it up. You can't. I was dumbfounded. That's something that stuck with me, forever scarred. And, you know, when people get used to it, hey, my mom lived on Section 8. I'm gonna do it too. Beautiful girl too. And I'm like, God damn. How?
Well, Henry, thank you so much for your time and energy. Stick around for a little bit. Once we stop rolling.
Okay.
But thanks for your time and energy, and I will see you next time.
For sure, man. We could talk about come up with a plan together to save the community, or save.
No.
You know, we could brainstorm. We could figure it out. We can figure it out.
We can donate to Umar's school.
Now you throwing shots. Oh man, you should try to get an interview with him and ask him where it's at. You know, the donation probably been plentiful for him.
Oh, that ninja would not want to interview with me.
I like him though. He's entertaining. He is very entertaining. He is very entertaining.
Oh, he's super entertaining. And honestly, I agree with him on actually a high percentage of stuff. It's just there's that pro-black stuff, that there's some pro-black stuff, and there's some other stuff in there that I can't get with.
Yeah, man, we'll be talking about Dr. Umar for forever, man. We'll have to do that next time for sure.
Definitely. All right, man. Well, I'll check you later, and take care of yourself.